Hi, my name is Cassie, and we're going to talk about the constructivist theory in education, some of the theorists behind the idea, and what it really does for our education. So let's get started with what constructivism actually is. It's a learning theory that has been based on extensive research, which found that learning is effective when it is active. By continually reflecting on our life experiences and pre-existing conceptions, we can create our own understanding and meaning of the world, as opposed to passively receiving information. At the forefront of constructivism is the view of students as creators of their own knowledge. The main theorists of constructivism are Jean Piaget and John Dewey. However, early views of the theory can be traced back to Socratic dialogue, where Socrates would pose questions which led his students to find the weaknesses in their thinking and reasoning. This is found in constructivism when students reshape or mold their understandings of a topic. The creation of constructivism is attributed to Swiss professor John Piaget and American philosopher John Dewey. Piaget believed that humans learn through the construction of one logical structure after another, and he also proposed that children's logic and reasoning is different from that of adults. Dewey proposed that knowledge was gained through experience, and he developed inquiry-based learning, which is a learning style based on student interest. In addition to Piaget and Dewey's constructivism, theorists like Lev Vygotsky and Jerome Bruner helped make the philosophy what it is today. Vygotsky introduced a social aspect of learning, like collaboration in groups or whole group discussions. And Bruner proposed that curriculum change based on the notion that learning is an active process that builds on itself. So now that we've introduced constructivism and the theorists who contributed to it, let's talk about how it differs from the traditional classroom. And it does that through curriculum, how the students are viewed and how they learn, the teacher's roles, and assessment. Two ways in which curriculum is different from a constructivist classroom to a traditional classroom are the way it is presented and what is valued most. In a traditional classroom, presentation begins with parts of a whole, and basic skills are emphasized. Whereas in a constructivist classroom, emphasis is on big concepts, and it begins with the whole and expands to include the parts. In a traditional classroom, adherence to a fixed curriculum is valued. However, in a constructivist classroom, pursuit of student questions and interests are valued. How the students are viewed also differs from a traditional classroom to a constructivist classroom. In a traditional classroom, students are passive recipients of knowledge, whereas in a constructivist classroom, students are encouraged to construct their own knowledge, so they're seen as creators and adventurers. The ways in which students learn and work differ between traditional and constructivist views as well. Students are now working in groups as compared to working independently in a traditional classroom. And learning is interactive, and it builds on what the student already knows instead of being based in repetition. In a traditional classroom, the teacher's role is directive and rooted in authority, where they just relay or tell the students information. In a constructivist classroom, the teacher's role is now interactive and rooted in negotiation. They have dialogue with their students and help and guide them through their endeavors. Traditionally, students are assessed by whether or not they get the right answer on a test. Through the constructivist approach, assessment includes student works and observations in addition to tests. The process is stressed just as equally as the product. Now that we've introduced constructivism, a model of teaching that can be used to implement constructivism is the PAR model of teaching. It's to present, apply, review approach to teaching, and it emphasizes the students taking responsibility for their own learning and the teacher being a facilitator for that learning. It is hugely based on the constructivist approach, and it expands on the works of Piaget. The three components of the PAR model are present, apply, and review. In the present component, objectives and goals are given and explained, along with any advanced organizer that can give an overview of the topic. and the teacher expresses the relevance and importance of learning the topic. A presentation outlining the knowledge and reasoning is given, and abstract ideas can be illustrated with concrete examples. Demonstrations which stress both process and product can be given in the present component. And the learning strategies in this component are listening to the teacher, watching demonstrations and videos, independent learning, and teaching by asking. The teacher can also check learning and progress by asking questions or looking at student work. The next component in the PAR model is application. The learning strategies used here are completion of practical tasks, group discussions, case studies, exercises, student presentations, and critiquing examples. When peer marking or critiquing examples, teachers should pay close attention to the task and the process rather than the product. Teachers should also check or correct work in progress quickly and discover those who need help and provide that help. In this component, the teacher should also praise or encourage effort, progress, and completion rather than just high attainment. In the final component, what has been learned is summarized and classified with key points emphasized in a review. Some strategies used in this component are questions and answers, mind mapping, reiterating key points, and peer explaining of key objectives. I'm a math major, so a scenario in which a PAR model can be used is on the topic graphing equations. In the present area, the teacher would introduce objectives like students can synthesize a graph of any given equation, students can locate and explain what the x and y intercepts are, and students can create a table modeling any equation. The teacher should then describe the importance of being able to graph equations, which are to represent data, draw conclusions, and lay a foundation for calculus. The teacher can then present the x and y intercepts, explaining what they are and how to find them. He or she could then show a video which shows how to make a graph using x and y intercepts. A handout which walks the students through the creation of an x and y table could be given, an example shown of how to create a graph from a table using teaching by asking. Several learning strategies like listening to the teacher, watching videos and demonstrations, and teaching by asking are used in this component. Throughout the presentation, the teacher should ask clarifying questions to ensure the students grasp the content. In the application component of the PAR model, the teacher can present the whole class with exercises and problems to complete without teacher guidance, or she can break them down into groups and give each group a different equation, prompting half of the groups to graph the equations with x and y intercepts and half of the groups to graph the equation with using tables. Once they're done, the groups will come up and present and show their work and their tables or their x and y intercepts and present their graph. The teacher can walk around and observe, helping where needed and making sure to praise or encourage the process as well as the product. In the review component, the teacher could give an exit slip prompting students to summarize a graphing technique or hold a quick question and answer session which hits all the key points. This concludes our talk on the constructivist theory and the PAR model. I hope you enjoyed this and now have a better understanding of what the constructivist classroom looks like and how to implement the PAR model of learning. Thanks for listening.